Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a circuit that demands absolute precision, bravery, and just a little bit of luck. Tonight I'm your host, Sagar Bakshi, and it's green, green, green here at the Miami Autodromo Internazionale. Side by side, there goes Sean Stan, the Stanman, and the 000 as well.
Papa Green made up 3 positions in 2 laps. With Leslie Simpkins now throws his elbows out at Druid.
Welcome in, everybody, to Daytona, as it's famous for its speed, but in endurance racing, speed is only the beginning of the equation. The Sausage Dodger Endurance Tour heads to the Daytona International Speedway road course for the next 90-minute battleground, bringing the GTP and GT3 fields together on a circuit where the banking creates enormous closing speeds, and the infield will demand patience, traction, and precision. The GTP drivers will arrive into traffic quickly. One moment they'll be fighting for position at prototype speeds, and the next they will be calculating how to work through a pack of GT3 cars without throwing away seconds for the entire race. For the GT3s, predictability becomes just as important as pace, particularly when the prototypes arrive under the braking or through the high-speed sections. Daytona also creates one of endurance racing's greatest compromises. Teams need enough aerodynamic efficiency to be fast on the baking, but enough stability and mechanical grip to survive the international horseshoe, the infield, and the attacks on the Le Mans chicane. Then comes the strategy. 90 minutes means fuel windows, tire decisions, traffic strategies, and pit execution. We'll all have a say before this one is over. The quickest car may set the pace and in qualifying be at the top, but the cleanest team could be the one standing on top when the clock runs out. 2 classes, 1 racetrack, 90 minutes. Welcome to the Big Power Hunter Sausage Dodgers Endurance Tour at Daytona International Speedway. Let's go racing. Keys to the race for the drivers tonight at the 5.69 kilometer racetrack with nearly no elevation change unless you're talking about the banking. Key number 1, managing the closing speeds. Number 2, winning the exits onto the banking. Speaking of, that'll be turn 7. And then protecting the tires through the infield section. Make sure you don't start sliding around early on in your stint. And obviously, number 4, execute the 90-minute strategy, get the fuel timing, pit entry, tire decision, and traffic management done carefully. Tonight, I'm your host, Sagar Bakshi, bringing you all the live pictures and coverage on behalf of AK Esports and Sausage Dodgers Racing. It's a pleasure to be with you yet again. Take a quick gander at the championship points before we get too far into things. Thomas Oliviati leads the GTPs right now by 6 points in front of Michael West as we head into round number 3. Over to Daniel Miller for third, and then James Piper, Mark Richards, Pim Van Gastel, Toby Deck, Konstantinos Nikolaitis, Oscar Corbett, Chris Carr, Rodden Efnick, Roberts 4, Oleg Karmanov, Tim Williams, Daniel Moffat, Mauro Gabbiati, Paul Rocky Cook, and Marina Clark rounding out the top 18. In the GT3 categories, as we head into round 3, will be Alessio Carino with 66 points, tied with Augusto Sicosio, with the two Italian pairings going side by side. Alejandro Casimiri rounding out third, 6 points adrift from the top spots, and then Mattia Pindelli 5 points back from there. Tied with Mattia Ubertali, the Ubertalis tied up. Diego Antiofiori is going to be in 6th. Vincenzo Stagnito, Arciero, Garcia Bellino, Zazzara, Zavagin, Fomin, Babarak, Ewers, Angela Capoulas, Minetti, and Sahula round out the 18 drivers in the GT3 category. Over to what we have in store for us today. Right now, it'll be the GT3 drivers out on the racetrack, and only a handful of them showing their stripes tonight. Of course, we have the 12, 21, and the 81 not putting in lap times. The 984 tops the charts. That'll be Alejandro Casimiri. Ale. Vamos, Ale. A 145.159. That last time by will be the new provisional pole time, set just in front of Pendelli. He was going to be the Italian driver in the number 28 Ferrari. And Zavagin would be the next driver up the road. Can he stitch it together? Babarak, though, being the next driver to try to get it all done. Coming around the banking now. And pedal to the metal for Babarak, not setting a time in the number 26 up until this point, and only having a few minutes left of the qualifying session to get anything done. What can be said and done for Ladislav Babarak in the number 26? Where does he find himself at the end of that run? Not too shabby. Thrusts himself up into P8. Not a bad installation lap. Mr. George Angelo Capoulas here. Won't be able to improve. What about Mr. Andrew Kesserton on the backstretch? Can Angelo Capoulas find anything better than P3 tonight? And Kesserton, 47.5 last time by, 2.3 off the pace on that run. Casimiri still out there, but doing an outlap at this point in time. Babarak still looking to improve, this time coming through the banking. And we'll cross the line next. Can Babarak find the improvement desperately needed to get in front of Andrew Kesserton? 150.875 won't be good enough for the top spot. Won't be good enough to beat Andrew Kesserton either. Babarak still has a little bit of time left to get things installed and find the lap time to improve, but for now, it doesn't look to be the positive gains that Babarak is looking for.
Diego Antonio Fiore going to be the driver out, but I think we'll call it quits there. Here's Pavel Nemrava. Nemrava in the AMG GT3 car. Naturally aspirated 6.3 liter V8. Nemrava going to be the top Mercedes, but not the top German manufacturer. Won't be the top British manufacturer. As that rests in the hands of Angel Kapoulis, who's in pit lane now, resting things up. What about Artem Fomin? Mr. Fomin, the 138. Is looking to improve. Artem is driving that 138 to the checkered flag potentially. Checkered flag of the session at the very least for the GT3s. We split this one down the middle. Pinadelli finds a purple sector 3 at the end of the day, and that will be frustration coming out for Fomin. Pindinelli does find a little bit of time that last time by, but the 45.59 won't be enough to improve on to find the coveted pole. It will go the way of Alejandro Casimiri Ale by the end of it. Flurry of GTPs roll their way out to the lane. And the flurry of GT3s come in to pit lane to give it a park there. GTP is coming out onto the racetrack as we speak. That's going to be a flurry of sausages out there as well. Mark Richards, Pim Van Gastel being one of them also. Coming through the Le Mans chicane now, the newly named chicane. Everybody is going to try to go for a solid installation here. Big shout out and thanks to our title sponsor, Big Power Hunter. If you love high performance cars, incredible builds, and all things automotive, make sure you give them a follow by searching Big Power Hunter on Instagram. The amazing cars you'll see featured on their page have been expertly built by ES Motors, whose craftsmanship has helped create some truly outstanding machines. Huge thank you to Big Power Hunter for supporting Sausage Dodgers Racing and tonight's live stream. A little bit off there in the background. That'll be the number 10 of Pim Van Gastel. Maybe we'll get back onto the racetrack. Let's take a look at Mr. Tim Williams in the 797. seems like something's a bit amiss now. Give the paints a little refresh there. There we go. Couldn't be the case that Tim was not driving a Sausage Dodgers, right? As I said, we have a plethora of sausages on the racetrack tonight. Tim Williams, the leader and founder of Sausage Dodgers Racing, being one of them. Dan Miller, Tim Williams trickling in the lap times. Oleg Karmanov as well. Robert Svor tops the charts as far as installations are concerned. Oscar Corbett, Michael D. West now. And the track is definitely coming to temperature now. Let's take a look at the weather. Overcast, 25, 33 degrees for the track temperature. Pretty hot. One of the drivers was even saying their room right now getting up to 30 degrees Celsius because their PC got turned on. So this is going to be an endurance race test for sure, certain, as the drivers all have to come to terms with the heat, the temperature, the tires, everything in between. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for staying tuned. It's a pleasure to be your host, as always, on behalf of AK Esports and on behalf of the Sausage Dodgers Racing. I'm your host, Sagar Bakshi, bringing you all the live pictures and coverage tonight. Maybe a little bit of drafting games being played right now from some of the field, as there goes the 10 alongside. That'll be Michael D. West, who's in pole position right now in front of Mark Richards by less than a tenth of a margin. Times continue to trickle in. Miller 3/10 back, nearly 4/10 back. The Ferraris trail half a second now. But we all know in endurance racing, just because you're fast in the qualifying session doesn't mean that you're going to be fast over the race. We saw fuel being a big strategy coming into Fuji. And will that be another strategy call for some of the drivers tonight? We'll find out. We'll find out as they become tested. Miller, a South African, doing what he's capable of right now in the 392. Beautiful to see the plethora of countries being represented here at Sausage Dodgers Racing. And of course, Mark Richards settling back home from Antarctica, Kazakhstan, Ethiopia, and beyond. He has now returned home to the homeland, the motherland, some would say. Our motherland, our home and native land, as we say in America. The Great Britain. I believe that's what we call it, GBR, Great Britain. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but Mark Richards from the UK here. Oh, but getting bumped back, Mark Richards falls prey to Thomas Oliviati and Michael D. West right now. Ozegalu, Uzelugu, excuse me for the mispronunciation. Uzelugu is the one topping the charts right now. He is in fear of his safety and is ready to do an outlap now. With just a couple of minutes remaining, where does he fall? Slots back in behind a driver that's ahead of him. That's Toby Deck right up the road, so won't be getting a tow from Deck right now, and Toby Deck is a little down the order right now. Actually, hasn't even set a time yet, so Deck has got to get the hurry up and go on right about now. The Netherlands-based pilot really needs to stitch it together sooner rather than later for his attempts in the qualifying session. Warming up the tires, popping and weaving sure will help. Van Gastel, is the driver to go up into 8th. Visconti finds 9th. Moffat up into 4th. And that might be the highest we've seen Moffat all season. It seems that he is the driver to keep our eye on this race. Oliviati not feeling too comfortable. Just 1,000th of a second in front of his opponent. Dan Miller, what can you do in that Porsche? Will it be a fuel-saving race for the field, or will it be times that are indicative of their true pace? We know Mark Richards is capable of doing something tricky, and there it is during the final bit of the session. Only 1/10 back from one of the biggest heavy hitters we've seen in this championship so far. Singizan Uzlugu. Michael D. West, though, challenges everything that I've just said. Comes in through turn 2. Will be ahead of Mark Richards here. Pit lane for Michael D. West, though. Pim Van Gastel, not comfortable with his position. Gonna roll out a pit lane into P8 for the Ardent Motorsports team. Piper in 11th. Settles back, goes down into 12th position. Oh, and a big off there as cold tires are going to be the causation of that problematic spin. Oleg Karmanov coming through the final chicane. James Piper up into 3rd. The student driver not being such a student anymore, as the student has now become the master, it would seem. As he is now slotting in front of Michael D. West. That's going to be a steep order to climb, but he did slot in front of Mark Richards currently. Tim Williams and Oscar Corbett inverting their positions just briefly as they cross the line. Tim Williams up into 14th for the 797. Benedetto De Vezzo driving the Le Mans livery for SDR comes through turn 1. It represents the Sausage Drivers organization by having the 51 plastered on the side and the angel wings on the back of the livery. Beautiful paint scheme and livery brought to you by Octavio Barros Racing Graphics. Just a few moments remain in this qualifying session. And it doesn't look like Benedetto De Vezzo is going to be able to improve this qualifying run. Uzulugu is going to be the driver to come down pit road, and look at the gap. Piper 56 thousandths away from Uzulugu, and then Michael D. West less than a few thousandths as well back. Less than a tenth back to be precise, and then 1/10 back we have Mark Richards, and then a tenth and a bit back we have Thomas Oliviati, showing you how tight the margins are. Pair of Cavalieri Rampantes and then a pair of Cadillacs run at the front of the grid, but we'll get that sorted for you here in just a few moments as the session is about to conclude and the drivers will get their final attempts in for the session. But it won't be a final attempt for Benedetto De Vezzo, unfortunately. Piper, West, now Miller finds the time he needs. Coming into turn one to finish things out, will park it. With the seconds remain in the qualifying session, everybody is running their fuel tanks dry. Marino Kloraric trying to find a better position than P17. Marino Kloraric, come on, brother, get it together. We had a great battle with each other at the BMW M2 Challenge on Tuesday. If you're interested in joining that, make sure you scan the Sausage Dodgers QR code in the bottom right-hand side of your screen to get involved. No, that's not Marina Kloaric's livery in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. That is a QR code for you to scan to get inserted into our leagues. Time ticking over now for the session. I think that will be it. Pal Visconti being the next driver to cross the line, but I believe that will conclude the session now. Marino Kloraric not getting another lap in, and neither is the 37. A little pit lane practice for Visconti with a little bit of a lockup to boot. But that will conclude the session, folks. And we'll take a look at the results here in just a moment. Welcome, everybody, to the World Center of Racing. This race is presented by Big Power Hunter and presented by Sausage Dodgers Racing. Take a look at those results for the qualifying session for the GT3s for the Big Power Hunters Endurance Tour. It was Alejandro Casmiti Ale taking pole, and then Matteo Penadelli maybe in second. Then Zavgin in third. And Androkopoulos in fourth. Matt Artem Fomin in fifth. Nemrava, Casterton, Babarak, Ubertali, and Carino round out our top 10. Over to the GTPs, Ozugalu, Piper, and Glass round out the top 3. Miller, Richards, Oliviati, Mofat, Karmanov, Gastel, Deck round out the top 10. Take a look at a starting grid. Ozilugu and James Piper on that first row. Let's see the battle begin. Michael D. Weston, Dan Miller on the second. Number 3 belongs to Mark Richards and Thomas Oliviati. Further down the order, it's going to be Daniel Mofat and Oleg Karmanov. On row number 5, it's Pim Van Gastel and Toby Deek. And then it's row 6 for Roberts 4 and Benedetto Del Bezzo. Paul Visconti and Tim Williams, the 797 and 14th. Oscar Corbett and Mr. Uncle Lloyd Butler to you, driving 369 and being fine. Is Marino Clark and Simon Music round out 18. Rodden Efnick and Mauro Gabbiati on row number 10. Further back, it's going to be none other than Paul Cook. Alejandro Casmidi Ale leading us off in the GT3s with the Mattia Penadelli and Andrea Zavgin in the GT3s as well. And 24th, Angelo Kopoulos, and 26th is going to be belonging to Pavel Nemrava. Pavel Nevrama and Mr. Andrew Kestrin, Ladislav Bavarak, Mattia Ubertali in 30th. The list goes on. Alicio Carino, Rita Uhal, Damiano Bellino, Vincenzo Stagnito, Diego Antonio Fiore, August Guz, and last but not least, Carol Sahula. Rounding out all of the drivers. Let's take a look at that grid of drivers from the sky now. And what a beautiful sight it is to see here in Daytona. The World Center of Racing, folks. We are about to go racing for quite the spectacle. Coming down in towards turn number 1 will be the biggest braking zone on the racetrack for the drivers to negotiate. Coming off the high-speed banking zone, we wait with bated breath for the race start here. Green, green, green is the flag color, and Dan Miller chases down James Piper, but Piper is already into the lead of this one, coming down towards turn 1. He's leaps and bounds ahead, but can he get it under braking? No, he cannot. The student driver has to sit back and wait as the 43 follows through. It will be clean and green for the GTPs. Tim Williams getting through as well, but there he goes up at turn number 3. That's going to be Rodden Efnick going airborne there, but Oscar Corbett and the Sausage Chargers falling prey to the attacks. Here's a look at the GT3s coming into turn number 1 as well. From the top side view, it's clean and green for the GTPs until it's not. And Ladislav Babarak getting involved in a big one early on in this one. Alicio Carino involved in an incident as well. The 666 recovers coming into the backside of the racetrack. I'll be the infield at the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. More incidents taking place on the racetrack as drivers try to recover, but the TRT driver right now has a lot of work to do, and it's all cut out in front of him. The 666 in Italy, its colors, trying to represent his country alongside a whole bunch of others. James Piper, what have you done? What have you done in the 999? He has spun it coming onto the banking. Or has he been involved with another GTP? There is another GTP off. That'll be Oleg Karmanov. Let's see what happens here. Sausage Dodgers replay of what happens to the 999 chasing down the 444, and airborne goes Piper in his pursuit for glory. Uncle Lloyd Butler duking it out with Rodden Effnick right now. Another Sausage Dodgers livery being thrown out there. This is going to be the 369 pilot. Uncle Lloyd being one of our loyal Patreon subscribers. Speaking of which, big shout out and thanks to all of our Patreon subscribers as well. From everybody in our tier 1 category to everybody on the meat wall. Whether you donate monthly or week after week, we can count on your love and support. It goes a long way. Dan Miller, the South African, having a little bit of connectivity issues in pursuit of glory himself. Mark Richards chases him down. And Miller slows down coming out of the chicane. The Lamar chicane will come under the attacks from Mark Richards. Also from Danny Moffat in the Lucky Charms machine. Moffat was looking pretty good in the qualifying run and in practice, and it looks like Dan Miller's trying to help out Mark Richards in the SDR colors to avoid getting hurt from the drivers behind. That will be Moffat now taking advantage of the deep and wide run of the number 23. But slots back in, coming in towards turn number 2. It will stay green and clean between Miller and Moffat. Moffat on the attack, but getting help from the 830. That's Toby Deck. Looking back in his rearview mirror, he is not, as his front windshield is full of that Lucky Charms marshmallow machine. And there's a move from Toby Deck. Steep order and a move made at turn number 5 at the West Horseshoe Bend. That was a clean move. Let's check in with the GT3's Mattia Penadelli. Up into the lead now, and Casmeri's back down. And again, we said in the qualifying run that it wasn't going to be everything to be the quickest. You had to be the most consistent over this 90-minute stint. So let's see if the drivers can do it properly. Speaking of doing it properly, Tim Williams and Rodden Effnick trying to get it proper at the chicane. Tim Williams leaves tons of room to the inside line for Rodden Effnick to play with. And Effnick is through. A little bit of wiggle on the exit, and there's Mark Richards, the 420, having a crash at Le Mans. Let's see what happens here. It looks like a little bit more of the same. Does he go airborne across the curbs? He does. And keeps it out of the wall, though. Save of the day, possibly. Miller in a bit of trouble right now. Dukes it out with the 33, Thomas Oliviani. Now, Oliviani there to impress drivers and fans alike tonight. I mean, that Cadillac finding a podium could be great for his championship run. The TRT driver seeing one of his teammates in the GT3s down and out could potentially secure the good haul points for the team and the racing organization. But obviously, Michael D. West and Ozolegu are the drivers impressing us the most tonight. P1 and P2. And by a healthy margin. 2.4 seconds the gap right now from the 44 to the 47. The Ferrari leading the Cadillac. And then back around 3.5 seconds. Thomas Oliviati to Michael D. West. And then we have Deck, Miller, Moffat, Viso, Music, Visconti, Sfor, and more, including Robert Effnick, Tim Williams, Marino Clark, Mauro Gibbiati, Mark Richards, Lloyd Butler, James Piper, Pim Van Gastel, and Oscar Corbett. Mark Richards trying to recover a little bit of time and sees Mauro Gabbiati up the road, but Lloyd Butler, Uncle Lloyd to you. Gonna be the driver he has to go side by side with through the kink. A little bit tricky, late on the brakes for Richards. And he holds that ground next to the Ferrari, the Cadillac, showing its stripes and its consistency. Under braking, it did very well. Battles in GT3 rage on. This one's for 8th place in the category right now. Il Al in the Porsche 911, giving a little flashy of the headlights up ahead to Andrea Zavigan. Little cheeky look there from Toby Deck to Thomas Oliviati coming into turn 1. The Delta came down, and so did the risk for margin. Lloyd Butler and James Piper exchanging a couple of blows, but James Piper couldn't get the move done in time on Uncle Lloyd. Staying locked in here because Vincenzo Stagnito has Diego Antonio Fiore up the road, and this will probably become a woza. And Vincenzo Stagnito started staring at the stars here in Florida for just a brief moment. And that was a very, very close call. In the background, the TRT of Zavigan has got Artem Fomin up ahead. The 138 still down 1, but Zavigan maybe the driver down the worse for wear, down 4 positions in that McLaren. Paul Visconti and Ron Efnick exchange a little bit of paint on the banking side. And into turn 1, the 37 gets a nose ahead and solidifies the run. And through 2 and 3, all the way back to the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. The drivers in the lead in the GTP category begin discussing lap traffic negotiations. Absolutely. The 44 on fire tonight. Doing a tremendous job. And here we go. Here's the driver negotiating traffic as well. Precision for the first time. Still has a 1.8 second gap back. So Michael West catches up just a little bit there on the previous lap. The traffic helping out quite a bit, but the battle for first is still very much alive right now, as anything can happen in motorsports, and it typically does. Uncle Lloyd and James Piper are trying to exchange a couple of paint jobs themselves as the student racing machine. It's a little bit of love there from Uncle Lloyd as he tries to defend his position fair and square. And James Piper is just trying to get the move done as quickly as possible as he staged this one up, I believe, 3 times now. This will be the 3rd attempt he's going to go for it. Side by side through the kink, flat out for both the GTP drivers. And now the long way around the outside is going to be attempted for Piper, but to no avail as he gets a big slip, trip, and fall on exit. And that getting loose moment is going to cost him a ton of time. Marino Clark ready to pick up the pieces with Pim Van Gastel also foaming at the mouth right now, trying to recover himself. Down 9 positions for the category for Gastel and the Ardent Motorsports organization. On board with Pim Van Gastel now as we come through the high banking. Side by side all the way down the max stretch. They are going to duke it out like their lives depended on it. Coming into turn 1, Gastel on the outside line. It will be Marino Clark's defense to the inside. Side by side all the way through turn 2, but 3 is where things get settled down. Gastel recovers up to P17 for the category. The SRT driver, Grex Brutalis, SRT pilot, getting passed by a couple of GTPs relatively smoothly as it happens on the oval section. Robert Svor tumbles down the order also. What happened there? Everything looks okay for Robert Svor right now. That's Danny Rofat around him. Tim Williams in his own little tussle at this moment in time. Dan Miller being his opponent. Big drama right up the road for Tim Williams as he watches on with Dan Miller wheel to wheel as traffic becomes a problem for the field. Dive to the inside from Williams. Dan Miller tries to follow. Acceleration applied, but traction not found. 404 message. And Williams trickles back behind Robert Svor, but will it be Mark Richards to also take advantage of the mistakes from the drivers ahead? Thomas Oliviati is off the racetrack and will have to serve a little slow down penalty there. Oh no, Gastel, Oliviati crashed. See what happened to Gastel here. Oh, and curb strikes again. That'll be victim number 3 this evening. And what's just happened to Tim Williams? Tim Williams has crashed. Trying to go around the outside of the 9th place car, and they just come together in an ugly collision. I'm not sure what the stewards are going to have to say about that one, but Tim Williams gives up and goes to pit lane. It's not over yet for gas now. It's only just begun. Benedetto De Vezzo trying to go around the outside of the GT3 driver from TRT. That will be Mattia Pinadelli, but a little bit of respect being requested there as the elbows came out. Mattia Pinadelli preventing a little bit of real estate there at the apex as he tried to turn in. And again, this time it'll be the number 1 behind. He's trying to get by. Mauro Gabbiati negotiating with a fellow countryman. The West Horseshoe section, and then coming back out onto the racetrack out of turn 7. Damiano Bellino right behind. Could use the draft to his advantage. As one Italian manufacturer chases down the next. Pit stop for Toby Deck. And I am seeing an off track for Deck, so let's see. There's an incident we perchance missed until we go 3 wide, and Mauro Gabbiati around the outside. This will be the Lamborghini getting moves done on the Ferrari. Bellino now behind Alejandro Casamiti Ale, the 222, up into second place. Ten positions there gained for Bellino. Take a look at what happened to Toby Deck here. Was this off track a help? It was helped. And that might be why he had to make that trip down pit road. Get some of that damage repaired. .135.5 from Michael D. West. He is a little faster than Ozagalu the last time by, but only by a 10th. He needs to be faster by a lot more than that. Rodden Effnick, for example, being a half second faster than Simon Music last time by. Will be extremely helpful to his run. And what has happened here to Fiore? The Racing Point driver having a big moment. Comes across and then gets attacked from Vincenzo Stagnito to the inside line, and then the 83 will spin out all the way across the racetrack. And man, oh man, that'll be a hard recovery from the 83. But if anybody can do it, it's probably the Racing Point team. Diego Antonio Fiore is still up 4 positions in the category right now. Tim Williams back out on the racetrack right now. But back onto the same lap as his GT3s. Will not be seeing any blue flags for the cars around him that he's trying to get by. 5 seconds away from Vincenzo Stagnito and catching like the rocket ship that he is. Marino Chloraric, Uncle Lloyd Butler. 13th and 14th position are still up for grabs, and Uncle Lloyd has something to say about Marino Chloraric's stance. And he tries to go the long way around the outside of turn 1, gets it planted before we get down to turn 2, and I will say that was a good move, signed, sealed, and delivered. A little bit wide there from the 10 behind Pim Van Gastel, trying to get a good run onto the high banking. We know from that earlier incident with Gastel, he's got a lot of hard work to do. .6 second back, but Uncle Lloyd and Marino Chlorarc are still going to duke it out. Let's check in with the GT3s briefly, as we see Tim Williams getting by the GT3 leaders. I'm curious about the weather, as the surface is dry, the clouds become a little bit darker in the sky. Mark Richards with another incident. The track is dry for now, but will we see more weather play a factor in this championship? Rod Ethnick having an incident here. Let's check in and see what happened to the 4th place driver before it went awry. Into the braking zone at turn 7. Now Mark Richards has a similar incident coming into the same exact corner. What happens here on acceleration, though? Desperation. Power outage for Carino. We hear from the chat. Taking him out of contention. No. That is not the way we want to see battles end. Two young friends going after it on the racetrack. Benedetto De Vezzo and Mr. James Piper. The Scottish man that no one can understand. Just kidding. We all love you, James. In the 999 with a very good livery. No, I haven't caught a Charizard yet, James. No, I have not caught a Charizard, Andrew Kenny. Still looking. Still looking. In the background here, Matteo Ubertalli, Diego Antonio Fiore on his recovery drive, but Ubertalli is the one cutting through traffic like a hot knife through butter. Pavel Nemrava, driver up ahead, and Foman, next driver up in contention. Taking a look at the lap times there. There will be a big gain there for Nemrava, as Foman makes a big mistake on that lap. Fiore. I think that was Simon Music in the background. Is trying to get around. Simon Music will be the third place driver. In this run right now. 1, 2, 3. Ozologu, Michael D. West, Simon Music. Then Dan Miller, Rodden Ethnic, Danny Mofat, Paul Visconti, Roberts 4, James Piper, Benedict de Vezo round out our top 10. Ubertalli chases down Nemrava in the pursuit of glory as well. 8th and 9th. Not yet decided yet. Great run here, but a dive bomb on a GTP might not be the way to get things done. Number 21, Ubertalli, finds himself a little bit faster on the 23 of Dan Miller, but only under braking. At corner speeds, they're a little bit similar at slower speeds, but high speed, obviously the GTP is much faster in form. Rodden Ethnic chomping it up like a NASCAR driver, cuts through the field. Ubertalli with a better exit coming out of the Le Mans chicane. Should be able to attack, but there's the Lucky Charms machine of Danny Mofat. And now we'll have the leaders come down pit road with the limited fuel supply. Ozologu is going to be the first to blink. This becomes a very tricky time for the GT3s and the GTPs, as we'll now get a mix-up in strategies and in raw pace. Two different classes battling it out on the racetrack at the same time. Now we have two battles going on within the same class. Those that are saving and those that are not. "33-second pit stop for Zengizan Zagalo." And he tumbles back down to 14th position in that Ferrari. That'll be all she wrote for now. Check back in with Matteo Ubertalli, closing back down in. Mark Richards gets by Nimrava. Not a battle for position, but just a battle between classes being settled on the racetrack. Here is Renata Devezzo and Mark Richards trying to settle their debate. Mark Richards on a steep recovery drive, still down 5 positions right now. Piper and Devezzo separated now by 2.7 seconds. I'll leave us to battle with Devezzo and Mark Richards here. If you guys in the YouTube chat wouldn't mind helping me out with a pronunciation guide for our dear friend's name, how do I pronounce Sen-Gi-Zahan? Sen-Gi-Zan Ozi Leo Glue. Uzi Lioglu. Uzi Lioglu. That's what we're going with. Uzi Lioglu. Help me out if that's incorrect, but the pit stops become a thing as we've seen more drivers trickle in. Simon Music, James Piper, Paul Visconti coming down the lane. Now, we did see drivers fuel save at Fuji and come out on top. Will it be the same here at Daytona? Or have the cars been restricted and balanced in the right ways? Nimrava with a big incident. Let's check in on what happens here. Looks like a solo spin for Nimrava. And he goes clear across the racetrack. I think with that being done, it'll be a black flag penalty for Pavel Nimrava at the end of the night. Oh no, he goes back the right way. And will just get hit with a slowdown penalty to add insult to injury. But Nimrava does fall back to P30 overall, P11 in the category. Just as I was saying, pit stops becoming alive and well. Michael D. West, the one staying out right now in his Cadillac. Where does this cycle our leader to? All the way back up into provisional P1. Marino Klawaric and Michael D. West both still have to make their pit stops. Rodden F. Oh, Simon Music. Chasing down Mr. Miller up the road. And gentlemen, I must say, it's starting to get very, very dark here. The clouds are settling in close to the racing surface. That's we're on the gearbox of Rodden Effnick right now. Looking back at the battle between Toby Deck, or excuse me, Paolo Visconti and Dan Miller. Pit stops for Michael D. West and Marino Klawaric. That'll leave the inherited battle here between Dan Miller and Simon Music, coming into turn one at 250 kph. Danny Moffat, well, a little bit of trouble going wheel to wheel with Paolo Visconti, the Spaniard. Beautiful battle here at the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. Before we get down to the dog leg, it will be Danny Moffat pushing top speeds and up to 260 all the way down to the braking zone of the West Horseshoe. Lloyd Butler and Oscar Corbett now drag their wheels into the braking zone of turn one. Oscar Corbett finding a little bit of ground on Uncle Lloyd tonight. Danny Moffat still going in trouble, causing trouble, I should say, with Rodden Effnick. The wheel-to-wheel settles down, and Danny Moffat is up ahead in his Porsche in front of another Porsche driver. At the entry of turn one, Moffat still up in the seventh and holding on steadfast. Let's check in with Simon Music and Dan Miller here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of rain this evening, folks. And here come pit stops from the GT3s now. Foman, Fiore, Kesserton, Babarak, Saula, Nemrava, Cuz, all in lane. And look at how much precipitation there is in the air. The clouds are filling the grandstands here at the World Center of Racing. Side by side between Artem Foman and Diego Antonio Fiore. Out of 7, onto the banking. Foman slots in behind for just a brief moment. Gets the slipstream that he needs down to the back stretch into the Le Mans chicane He'll be foaming to trail on exit, gets on the loud pedal, but not good enough of an exit to get through just yet. Ale, Zavigan, Piper, Richards in the pits. And it's just not going to be Mark Richards' night, unfortunately, as he was involved in yet another one. 420, not again. Oh, it's James Piper who's parked. Oh, man. James Piper, you can't park there, sir. You cannot park there, sir. Oh, and he rolls forward also. Oh, Piper. Oh, James. Oh, James. Stewart's definitely having a look at that one, of course. Here's Dan Miller chasing down Simon Music. The gap there remains to be under a second. And speaking of under a second, flirting with it at least, is Simon Music's chase for P2 with Michael D. West right up ahead. West losing about a second and 3/4 last lap around to Music and Miller. If he keeps losing pace like that, he might lose out on that position. Yeah, Miller on the attack. Not enough of an attack to get anything done on Music, as he saw that one coming from a mile away and the writing on the wall. Now into the braking zone at the Rodriguez International Horseshoe. Miller is toying with his food right now. And the number 46 is going to be the prey in the water. Dan Miller chases down Simon Music through the GT3 traffic. As we get to the halfway point of this race, let's go ahead and check in with our sponsor and give a little gratitude for their partnership. We want to give a huge thank you to our title sponsor, Big Power Hunter, for making tonight's stream possible. Big Power Hunter showcases some seriously impressive high-performance cars, all built to an exceptional standard by ES Motors. If you're into fast road cars, modified builds, and top-quality automotive content, make sure you check out Big Power Hunter on Instagram. Thanks again to Big Power Hunters for supporting the stream and keeping the lights on here at Sausage Dodgers Racing. Top 10 in the GTPs, it'll be Ozagalu in first so far. And out ahead by a country mile for the number 44. Started in first, running in first, no shame in that. Michael D. West up one position right now in the number 47. Simon Music is going to be running in third right behind, change for P2 as Music finds the way around the outside of not only his opponent, but a GT3 driver as Michael D. West slants back into fourth position behind Dan Miller. So look at the stamp and ascend. I think not. Planned and executed run there from Simon Music and Dan Miller to work together, get through on Michael D. West. So Music in second, Miller in third, Michael D. West in fourth, Oliviati in fifth, Toby Deck in sixth, Rodden Ethnic, Daniel Moffat, Roberts 4, Benedetto Dovezzo round out our top 10. Paul Visconti, Pim Van Gastel, Oscar Corbett, Marino Clark, Lloyd Butler, Tim Williams, and Mauro Gabbiati round out our GTP drivers. In the GT3 field, it's a little further spread out as Damiano Bellino is up 11 positions in the category tonight in his 222 Lamborghini, finding positive gains on the racetrack as he had a 31.5 second pit stop, matching the rest of the field. Mattia Pendanelli in the number 28 will be in second, and Alejandro Casmidi Ale in third. Vincenzo Stagnino rounds out fourth, and Rito Uilal in the 911 Porsche will be the first of the German manufacturers in the GT3 category. Next up, Andrea Zavigan in the 174, Diego Antonio Fiore in the 83, Mattia Ubertali, Matt Artem Foreman, Karel Zohula, Vladislav Babarak, George Andrikopoulos, Andrew Kesterton, Pavel Nemrava round out the GT3s, still in it to win it. Hey, Galactic Gremlin, everybody is running just fine right now. We have a little battle here between Ubertali and Artem Foreman as they settle their debate for who's going to be the faster Lamborghini driver. We just ran through the top 10 in each of the categories, but the battles continue to rage on here at lap 31 for the GTPs, lap number 27 going on to lap 28 for the GT3s. As you can see, the track is absolutely littered with cars as we had over 37 entries taking the grid tonight. Creating a little bit of excitement for the race start, to say the least. $52 minutes passed on the clock. Drivers still duking it out. Drenched in sweat, I can only imagine. As the fog comes into Florida at Daytona Beach. A little slip up there. Oh, the battle rages on between a GT3 and a GTP car. Hope you're back in it next week, Galactic Gremlin. Thank you very much for your love and support here on the YouTube side. Gap starting to open up a little bit, but the mistakes starting to become a thing. Oscar Corbett getting a slowdown penalty coming through turn number 1 by the looks of it. But the battles still rage on according to the stopwatch. Look at the battle between Van Gastel and Oscar Corbett. Corbett catching at a rate faster than not. Looking good for the 998 to make some positive gains on the evening. Marino Clark will be the next driver to cross the line here in a few seconds. Thomas Oliviati making a second pit stop of the evening in the number 33. Let's see where that puts him on the exit of pit road. Thomas back out onto the racetrack. Or shall I say, Tomas back out onto the racetrack. In 13th position for his category, but already making a second stop on the evening. Should be a positive gain for Oliviati. Unfortunately, down 7 positions right now, but that's not the whole story. Speaking of the whole story, Simon Music with positive gains on his run tonight. It'll be the number 46 of Music, who's up 16 positions this evening. Matteo Ubertali and Artem Foman still and a little bit of tussles. Coming into turn 1, they separate themselves by a near country mile, 0.7 of a second being that measurement. But the two manufactured cars We're going to run nose to tail. Ubertali chasing down. I can't actually tell what country that is. We're going to have to go to the driver details to find out. Bulgarian driver. The Bulgarian driver. Yeah, great to see a couple of different drivers than we, I would say, typically see up at the top in both categories as well. We have Music and Dan Miller up at the top with Ozulugu in the top spot right now. Damiano Bellino, Pendelli, and Casmini Ale running the 1, 2, 3 with Vincenzo Stagnino having a great performance right now in 4th position, and hopefully we can keep up with that performance to the end of the race. Paolo Visconti comes down pit road, and I think that'll leave him making 3 pit stops on the evening. Dan Miller going to be the next driver to chase down another points-paying position. This is going to be Simon Music's battle. Take care, Galactic Gremlin. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great night and stay safe out there, my friend. See you next time here on the Sausage Dodgers Racing broadcast. We'll see you then. Dan Miller, in his pursuit of glory himself, chases down Simon Music on off track there from Daniel Moffat. That might be his first of the evening, actually. Oh no, what happened to Daniel Moffat? Here's a replay. What happens to the number 17 coming into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe? A little slip up, but gets back on the loud pedal a little too aggressively. Slip up there. Well, gets back on to the black stuff where he belongs. And Danny Moffat says, I'm going to be with my people. Roberts 4 apparently being his people right now. Roberts 4 and Benedetto De Vezzo behind. Pit stops there. Danny Moffat be the second one to blink there, or the third one, I should say. Actually, yeah, he's the third one to come down and make his second pit stop of the night. And Dan Miller here still chases down Music. Now GTP traffic on GTP traffic. That'll be Marino Clararic right up ahead. Dan Miller into pit lane. That leaves this one up to the drivers and the stopwatch. Who will get the better run, the overcut or the undercut? Music with the over, Miller with the under. Michael D. West trying to find glory in P3. Roberts 4 and Benedetto De Vezzo locked in arms and battle. Fifth in sixth place, undecided at this moment. Ron Efnick up the road by 17.7 seconds to this looky-loo battle here. Dirt and debris getting kicked up on the racetrack, spat up into Benedetto's windshield. Great exit for Benedetto there. .300 kilometers an hour is not where you want to make a look going into the braking zone of the Le Mans chicane. The SR machine, or SKR machine, of Roberts 4 will maintain the ground and position for the moment. Benedetto trying to change all of that here and now around the outside, around the high banking. It'll be a tricky run going into towards turn one. And Benedetto finds out what the slippery end of the track tastes like when he steps two wheels off across the white line. No track limits to be found on that occasion, but nearly could have ended up losing the ground that he's been working so hard to get all night long. With 6 positions gained, Benedetto started out in P12. Doesn't want to throw it away. GT3 traffic, trying to stay out of the way, but De Vezzo finds the grass. Simon Music being the next driver to come down pit road. This will definitely be a last lap stop, or a last stop for him. Very quick pit stop. Should be in order for Simon Music. He only needs to run 25 to the very end. I think driver splitting this one up into thirds makes the most sense. 30, 30, 30. And getting as close to or thereabouts as possible. Simon Music comes in or out at 1:06 on the clock. And what a beautifully executed pit stop. Comes out in P5 into clean air all around him. P4, Roberts 4, just right up the road. Our leader, Ozolego, comes down pit road. Number 44, Ferrari GTP. Execute his pit stop for the second time with precision. tires taken, I don't think. Ready to go, and he's off on pit exit. Cycles back. Behind Simon Music, who's into the lead of the race. I know it's a long way to go, but oh my goodness. Simon Music pulls out the undercut of this race. The number 46 with an unbelievable pit stop. Gained so much time. .3 the gap. I'm sure Simon Music is thinking to himself, what could be? What could be? He came in just a lap before Ozologu. Let's look at those lap times. Ho ho ho. There you go. 7 seconds faster on the in lap. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Pit stops for the GT3s, question mark, as Oihal is the next driver to come down the road. Marino Clark, know what has happened to you, my good friend, in the number 42, or on the 42nd lap, excuse me, the number 16. Might have had an incident happen in front of the number 37 here, just locks up the brakes and goes straight off. How does the crash take place? Lights up the rear end on throttle. Little kiss of the curb. Up the hill into the banking. And that'll be it from Marino Clark. He tumbles down to P12. Oscar Corbett right behind. Correction, Oscar Corbett no longer behind, fully alongside as the chase runs down side by side, going down into the first corner. Across the stripe, Marino Clark has the inside line, but Oscar Corbett, the speed and the momentum to the outside run, goes all the way around the outside, just like two trailer park girls, and carries the 998 in the Sausage Dodgers car to P12. A little bit of traffic there. I think that's Toby Deck. Rodden Efnick, excuse me. The P2 sitter right now. As he hasn't made a second pit stop of the night in that Porsche. The big question is, who still needs to pit and who doesn't? Wait, what happened to Senizin? He had a crash. Hold on. Ozologu on cold tires, or coldish tires, with a big wiggle tank slapper. Does he collect the barriers? A little slip up is all he needed. 44 spins out of the Le Mans chicane, gets back on the loud pedal, and this will be a grueling crawl back up to top speed. Pim Van Gastel able to get by for the Ardent Motorsports team. So, Simon Music could win this one. 39 seconds gap between himself and Michael D. West. Ron Efnick comes down pit road to solidify the top 5. James! Hello, James! Coming out of pit road now, it'll be Rodden Efnick and then Gastel into the lane now. So, Ozolegu able to get up into P4. Pim Ben Gastel out of the lane currently on pit road exit. A 13-second gap with 17 minutes remaining. Can it be done? Let's switch it up and look at the GT3 field because the battle for the podium definitely brewing up to being something. Here's Alejandro Casamiri being chased down by Pendinelli. Mattia Pinzinelli might be a little bit faster as he's been catching the last few laps. But he needs to turn that into more than just raw pace to get by here at Daytona. Look at how much moisture is in the air. It's just absolutely ridiculous how much fog has come in on the brink of night at Daytona. Lights haven't come on yet for the track. The airport traffic flying right overhead. West didn't even notice Michael D. West come down pit road, and Simon Music gets around. And that's a 2-second gap. Simon Music into the lead of this one, up 17 positions tonight from the back of the field, the number 46. Lap traffic giveth, lap traffic taketh away. And here the GT3 stays out of the way. Ladislav Babarak getting passed by the leaders in the category. Rodden Efnick battles it out with Ozlagu in their battle for P4 and P5. Coming into the braking zone, it will be a steep charge for the 5th placed car of Efnick to get through the field. Number 18 in a bit of a battle on his own right, so wants to stay in touch with that, but has to give respect to the cars that are in their own battle. And respect given, respect earned in this case. Coming into the final 13 minutes of the race, folks. Gaps still remain very tight for the podium in GT3 and 4th and 5th, respectively, as Ozur Legu, oh my goodness, gets very tight with the number 18 on the Mercedes AMG of Sahula, who negotiates that one fairly well, to say the least. Bolino getting around Tahula here. He'll be the race leader. Getting another car underneath his belt at Daytona International. As we all know, Daytona International Speedway was constructed under its NASCAR founder, Bill France Sr., and opened its doors in 1957, replacing the famous beach and road course that helped establish Daytona Beach as one of the centers of American motorsports. Sports car racing didn't become part of Daytona's identity until shortly afterward. In 1962, the circuit hosted the first Daytona Continental, a 3-hour sports car race won by Dan Gurney. The event then expanded to 2,000 kilometers in 1964 before becoming a full 24-hour race in 1966. This battle then evolved into the Rolex Daytona 24 Hours, now one of the major endurance races in international sports car competition. Daytona has so many tricky variants to it: traffic management, the setup compromise, huge speed changes, drafting, traffic, braking stability, corner exit management. It all comes down to this, though: the final 10 minutes of racing and an endurance race. Dan Miller and Michael D. West, nose to tail, but it could be Miller's compromise at the end of the day to give it up to Michael D. West. But the gap, 1.4 seconds, a little too far back to just hand it over for any reason. Danny Moffat down one from where he started this race, but sees another right up the road. Robert Spoor being under attack from Moffat in the Lucky Charms. With the luck of the Irish, filled Danny Moffat's pockets with gold tonight As we come across into the braking zone of the Le Mans chicane, Danny Moffat backs out of that one as Ford does it on his own, goes over the sausages, and will go airborne into the tire barriers. And it's great to see the drivers execute pit stops and multi-class execution perfectly this evening. One of the keys to the race was making sure that we got the pit stops right. Make sure that you manage the speeds as well. Closing speeds of the cars is massive, so making sure you got them right was very important, as Ozolegu very slowly onto the banking, as he was right on the rear wing of Rodden Efnick. Now sits in clutches of that'll be Marino Kolarek behind him. Miller and West right now in the battle for second in class with just under 6 minutes remaining. Traffic definitely becoming a problem. And onto the high banking. There goes Miller. Can West follow through before the Le Mans chicane? On board and then hitting the rev limiter there. Michael D. West plunges into the Le Mans chicane, trying to take as much of the track that he's bought and paid for. Bellino into the pits. Bellino making his second stop of the night now. Or does it leave Pinanelli across the stripe? How close is this margin going to be with 5 minutes remaining? Cold tires for Bellino as well, but it's a 1 second gap right now, nearly 2. Thomas Oliviani getting by Ozolegu, or at least staying in front of him for now. Ozolegu keeps on being mistake prone, this time at turn 1 is where he goes off the track, I think. See a replay of this overtake. Oh, it will be a run going into 1. Oh, and Ozolegu just can't turn in as the TRT driver consumes a little bit more real estate than I think he wanted to. Flashy of the headlights in retaliation after that. Dan Miller and Simon Music battle it out for the lead of this one. Coming in towards turn 1. It'll be across the stripe. Nose to tail no longer. Side to side between Miller and Music. Miller's through the South African, out for blood tonight. Like a great white shark off the shores of South Africa. He is in the water. Smells a little bit of blood from Simon Music. The Cadillac perhaps nursing a fuel problem. A very short pit stop for Music, 22.3 seconds on that last one. Now the gap opens up 1 second between Miller and Music. In just one lap, how the tables have turned. And again, the fog just really settling into the racetrack. Bellino back into the lead and has that healthy buffer that we expected him to have. 2.1 seconds, the current gap. Nick with a big one. What happened here to run Nick? Oh, finding a big braking zone there. Gone wrong. I think that has to do with the humidity. And Ron Eftick tries to limp it back home to get his haul of points for the evening. White flag waving this time by. Barney the flag man holding on to it for us. And waving this one high and proud. The drivers come across the stripe for the penultimate time. Dan Miller leading us around this time by. Thank you for joining. Thank you very much for staying tuned. It's been a pleasure to bring you from green to checkered flag. On behalf of AK Esports and on behalf of Sausage Dodgers Racing and Sagar Bakshi, bringing you all the action. Dan Miller, though, has had an amazing race up until this point. And the trajectory, a low of P12 early on in the race, but he would not be deterred as he took his tires and came back out on the racetrack and slowly made his way back up the order during his first stint, getting the rest of them done after the second stint. What about Simon Music, however? This driver here, what a roller coaster run from him, starting from P19. Work his way all up into the top 10 and having to do it all over again almost after his first pit stop phase. Michael D. West trails in third currently, running a good, healthy margin, and the consistency has been well for D. West. But so far, so good for Dan Miller in the GTP category as he's about to cross the line and accept the checkered flag. Congratulations to Dan Miller, the South African, for his win here at the Big Power Hunter Endurance Tour presented by Sausage Dodgers Racing. Simon Music and Michael D. West round out the podium. Roberts 4 and Paul Visconti dragged the line as well here. But in the GT3s, it will be Bellino in P1, Pinadelli in P2, and Ale crossing the line in third. Rod Epnick just a nose ahead of Marino Clark at the end of the Tia Ubertali in fourth, Fiore in fifth, Thavigan in sixth in the GT3s. Look at how dark it has gotten here on the beach of Daytona, folks. Let's take a look at the race results here. In the GT3 category, Lubolino, Pindanelli, and Ale, 1, 2, 3. Matteo Bertali, Antonio Fiore, Thavigan, Lihal, Sagnino, Sahula. Balbarak round out your top 10. Angela Kapoulis, Foreman, Kesterton, Nemrava, Kuss, and Carino round up the 16 finishers in the GT3s. Over to the GTPs, it's Dan Miller, Simon Music, Michael D. West, the 1, 2, 3 there at Daytona. Hard charge going to Simon Music at the end of the evening, getting 16 positions. Ozologu in fourth, Daniel Mofat, Benedetto De Vezzo, Robert Spohr, Pim Van Gastel, Paolo Visconti, Oscar Corbett, Rod Epnick, Marino Clark, Tim Williams, Thomas Oliviati, Toby Deck, Lloyd Butler, Mauro Gabbiani, James Piper, Mark Richards, Oleg Karmanov, and that's not even the last of them. And Paul Rocky Cook finishing things out, folks. Let's get to talking to the drivers that came out on top and some of the ones that, well, became best of the rest. First, we'll talk to Michael D. West, the driver who came home in third position for the category, driving the number 47 to the checkered flag. Had to be a, well, accomplishment number one and a challenge number two. How does it feel to finally be done with this one at Daytona, Michael?
Yeah, no, it feels pretty good. Obviously, another good result.
Nice.
Feel like I execute my strategy well, which actually I think probably would have worked had we not sort of been quite badly held up by some of the traffic. But that is what it is. I did what I could do, and yeah, podium's always good.
Nature of the beast, right? Or it comes with the territory. Endurance racing is what it is. You get some and you lose some time with the traffic, and sometimes your luck just goes one way or the other. You said that you ran into a bit of traffic not going in your favor. Do you ever have it go right in your favor when you needed to get the opportunities done?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we definitely had some stuff that worked out, but yeah, there was some GT3 cars that like aggressively blocked and whatnot, which just felt like more than just catching them in a bad spot. So it just happened at bad times in the race, and it just is what it is. Like you say, it's nature of the beast with the endurance stuff. So, you know, next week it might go my way more.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Michael D. West, for joining us in the broadcast booth. Who would you like to shout out, and who would you like to thank to close things out?
Definitely want to congratulate Dan for drove a great race and, you know, deserved the win after last week. And just everyone at SDR for organising it.
Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us in the broadcast booth here on the streets of Daytona. Have a great night and stay safe out there. Next up, we have Mr. Music next, and we'll talk to him in just a moment. The number 46, bringing home P2 with 16 positions gained in that caddy. Finding out what victory tastes like was so close, but Dan Miller had to come and ruin it for you. What was it like to charge through the field, Simon?
Well, I have 20 seconds worth of penalties, so I don't really care that Miller is ahead of me, to be absolutely fair. One penalty was absolute jokes, you know. I was all the way on the outside, and guy just went into me and got spun, you know. But I don't feel like appealing it. Too much work. Still a podium, anyways. So I'm very happy. We're going from last to first, basically second to podium, you know. Yeah, it was fun. I feel like it's much better to start last in these races and just chew your way through the grid because you know incidents happen. I saw like 5 cars die ahead of me. I was lucky that no one really went into me. There was some GT3 contact, you know, GT3s dive bombing me back after I overtook them. You know, not the cleanest race I've ever seen, but you know, we'll take it. I had some damage as well from like the second lap, so I had really bad straight line speed in the first stint, but I still managed. And yeah, a podium from P18 is a really nice result. I'm very happy with that.
Right on, Simon. Who would you like to shout out and who would you like to thank tonight here on the podium?
I would like to shout out and thank my friend who was in a VC with me. And out of nowhere, he became my engineer and just cooked up the best strategy that really could have been. I think there's nothing to be improved on the strategy. I just, out of nowhere, was in the top three. I did the driving, he did the strategy. So shout out to Dolly. Thank you. And yeah, that's all from me.
Have a good night, Simon, and take care.
Take care as well. Bye bye.
Last but not least, we have Mr. Miller in the booth. Mr. Miller, that was a heck of a charge this evening, all the way up into P1. How does it feel to be on the top step of the podium, all the way from South Africa, man? You were a great white shark out there chewing up the field.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, goodness. It's such a relief. After last week with the fuel mess up, I really made sure I really nailed my strategy this week. So, and yeah, I was really proud of that. I got a bit of an offset, pitted early, didn't fuel up much in the second stint. Then I had to take a bit more in the third stint, which like sort of cycled me through the field. So I was able to run in clean air for most of the race. And yeah, I had a pretty good pace. And then I had fresh tires, whereas I think Michael and Simon, I don't know if they changed tires, but it seemed like they were a bit slower on old tires. And I got much luckier than they did with the traffic and incidents. It seems like there was so much chaos around me, but I pretty much avoided it all. Like I had a little spin at the start of the race on my own, but I had a little bump from someone, but for the most part, it was pretty chaos free. So yeah, it's nice to finally get one.
I can only imagine, especially with a grid this stacked of opponents, you know, Senegazin at the end of the day, it was excuse the mispronunciation or the marbles in my mouth, but the number 44, you know, it looked like he had that one in the bag. Did you think he had that one in the bag, you know, during that first stint, or did you know you had something up your sleeve ready to throw at him for the final stint?
I honestly didn't know I didn't know anything about him, so it wasn't really on my mind. I was just, yeah, focusing on the car ahead of me. I wasn't really thinking about that. So no, I definitely did not think I could win. I was thinking a podium would be a really good result. So I'm super surprised. I think everybody just had their moments. Everybody had incidents. I just had less of them. Is how I put it.
And that's just the nature of the beast when it comes down to endurance racing, right? Is everybody's going to have incidences, but running your own race being the key to success here. What was one of your major keys to success tonight, in your opinion, Dan?
Probably like I said, the fuel strategy. Like I had that spin. I was kind of at the back, stuck in traffic, so I pitted early, fueled up early, and then just ran on my own. And then also taking tires every stint. I think a lot of people only took tires once. And so I constantly had fresh tires, which really helped me get those last 2 overtakes at the end of the race. So yeah, that was the key.
Awesome. Dan Miller on this victory here with Sausage Dodgers Racing. And Big Power Hunters sponsoring this one. Who would you like to thank and who would you like to shout out in Victory Lane?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody in the voice chat with me, all the boys. They're really supportive, especially Michael. Like, he was really gracious, despite him. Like, you know, he could have won that race if he wasn't so unlucky with the GT3 traffic. So yeah, he's always been really supportive. Yeah, it's just been a really nice community, getting to know everybody. So yeah, shout out to everybody there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your support here for Sausage Dodgers Racing. Have a great night and stay safe out there, Dan.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you very much for staying tuned. It's been a pleasure to take you from green to checkered flag. On behalf of Big Power Hunter, we need to give them their love for all their support. Being the title sponsor here at Sausage Dodgers Racing is no easy task. So huge thank you to Big Power Hunters for making tonight's stream possible, because Big Power Hunter showcases some very impressive high-performance cars, all built to an exceptional standard by ES Motors. And if you're into fast road cars, modified builds, and top-notch automotive content, make sure you give Big Power Hunter a follow on Instagram. Thank you again to Big Power Hunter for supporting the stream tonight. Thank you, everybody in the YouTube chat, for your love and support this evening. On behalf of Sausage Dodgers Racing, I've been Sagar Bakshi, taking you from green to checkered flag. Have a great night, and most importantly, as always, stay safe out there. Goodbye for now.